So the Oregon Ducks go down, unfortunately, for some out there in the great Northwest, of course. A close game, 21-17. A couple bad turnovers really cost them in Cal territory. We got Ryan Winter on the line from Sports Chat 503 to talk it up with us.
Hey, Mark, how are you guys?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, great. Again, tough times. Losing two in a row stings, but you got to tip the cap to the other team. Cal played a great game, man.
And I see Tyler Shuck throwing for 231 with a touchdown on 14 of 26.
Yeah, slow start and then just terrible second half. Just did not look good. Couldn't get a good game going. And then again, that tipped the cap to Cal a little bit. Cal played a good defense game. Cal knows us very well, and Shuck. There were conversations on Twitter around, should you bring up the backup? And the starting running back CJ Verdell was not getting a lot of playing time. Travis Dye was running the ball a lot. Looked really good. There were times where Oregon looked like they were the much better team, but they just, again, saying tough penalties, tough turnovers at really difficult times, and they just couldn't never put the game away. And then finally late, they had a chance, and then they got caught with a fumble right at the end. So as they're driving to get their game winner. So tough game, man.
It seems like most of us, and I fall prey to this as well, think we have the season figured out, and Oregon's going to win the North and USC's going to win the South, and let's just see if they go undefeated, and they probably will, and we're going to get that for our Pac-12 championship game. And then once Washington was able to win a couple games early, I thought, okay, I even presented this case to you that that will probably be Oregon's matchup, and certainly on the schedule, but an undefeated matchup leading into that Pac-12 championship game. And lo and behold, Stanford hasn't impressed many this year, but bam, they really take it to Washington and hold on for a win today. So the Pac-12 is just balanced.
It's like that every year too, Mark. Again, like outside of the, Ohio State and, Alabama, Clemson for a little bit, outside of just the very top elite who expect every game to be a win, every game's a little dicey. Now, Oregon has been on the rise. Last year, they were the champion, of course, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen for this year. They had a lot of opt-outs. The fatigue of the COVID situation, it feels like it's starting to come on a little bit across the country. They're starting to see some weird plays happen. You're starting to see some weird games. Washington losing today is a perfect example. Same kind of thing that Oregon got caught into, which was, they kind of looking ahead a little bit, maybe saying, hey, we're the better team here. We just got to win out, and we're in a position doing something, and then boom, they get caught. So I tend to think for the West Coast, the way the rest of the country looks at the Pac-12, you just got to put your head down and win the conference. If you win the conference, you put yourself in a conversation at the end of the year. But if you don't win the conference, you find yourself in just some average bowl game, and most of the conference finds themselves in some sort of mediocre realm,
My perspective is typically more objective. Let's look at the metrics, not the eyeball test, regardless of what it tells me. I am looking at these conferences individually as even as comparable, because I'm not going to make any kind of projections as to who's good and who's bad when they didn't play anybody outside the conference. That's why I think maybe the bowl season is going to be even more fascinating, and hopefully we get a number of games. We've had 10 stripped from the bowl schedule, but there are going to be less bowl games. But just to see how a conference, in particular the Pac-12, performs once they start playing somebody else.
I completely agree. This year not having the non-conference really hurt. It really hurt the idea of just giving conferences a perspective of how good they are nationally. And you're right. This has just been such a strange year. I think you have to go through the metrics. You have to see what the eyeball test shows on the field. And you have to give a combination of both and come up with some sort of good matchups at the end of the year. I don't know if the record's going to be that important at the end of the year. They're talking about bowl games for teams that, don't really have that great of a record just because they have a brand name. I think the matchups this year would be great to see is some Pac-12 and Big 12 matchups. I haven't been that impressed with the Big 12 nationally. They had teams lose early, and they kind of felt like they were getting kicked out of that national race. And I think Pac-12 in the same boat. I think it'd be great to see some matchups there. There was an announcement that the Pac-12 and the SEC were going to unite for a bowl game. the Armed Forces Bowl. So there's a matchup possibility there as well. I just don't know where everybody's going to be seated at the end of the day.
Well, the one exception I will make to the comment that I made that you responded to would be the Big 12, because they did have the negative results going outside of conference, taking on the Sun Belt. So I know the ACC teams played the one non-conference game, but they were against the Citadels and Charlottes of the world, and not a whole lot was really shown there. But yeah, the Big 12 stepping out and losing 2 games to Sun Belt Conference teams was not a good look. But as the SEC and the Pac-12 and the Big 10 go, they're only playing each other. So everybody that calls me and says that they've got some narrative on how good the Pac-12 is, or the Big 10, or any of those 3 in particular, but really anyone, I kind of dismiss it, because, again, I think it has a lot to do with previous 2020 perception leaking in to the conversation. So we got this Washington game coming up next week. Ryan, give us a spin on this in regards to, again, the flavor that you know that this rivalry is about that many of us don't.
Well, it's heated, and like I said, had Washington won today, it would have meant a lot for them, regardless of Oregon's decision, just to get undefeated. But them taking a loss today really kind of evens the playing field. Something you were saying earlier about, comparing different teams, look at Wisconsin and Oregon. Both were in the Rose Bowl last year. Both find themselves this year kind of treading water a little bit. I think people want to rank them high, but it seems like when they have the opportunity to come out and show who team they are, they're maybe not the team people thought they were, and so, going back to the Washington game, I think that's kind of similar to Washington. I think people really expected Washington to be a team on the rise. They expected Cal, Washington, and Oregon to all be fighting for the Pac-12 North. We didn't get to see Cal play Washington because of the first game of COVID, and now we get to see Oregon play Washington. I think it's going to be a great game to kind of decide who is the champion of the North. If Oregon beats Washington, I think they can still lay claim to that and still be in the running of some sort of a Pac-12 championship.
Good stuff, Ryan. Appreciate you stopping by to talk Oregon football. Everybody check out Ryan's work. I'll get the banner up here in a second. Ryan Winter over at Sports Chat 503. So that's all you need to type into the YouTube search, Sports Chat 503, talking Oregon athletics over there. Ryan.
Yeah, thanks again, Mark. Really appreciate you. Voice of college football, man. You do a great job.
Good to see you, Ryan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.